Hey, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money, and in today's episode, we're talking about a hotspot in South Florida. I didn't do a video of it. Sorry, I couldn't do. I really couldn't do a video of it, but I would have had a chance to do it, but because of the circumstances, I didn't do it. We're talking about the Miami-Dade County Fair and Exposition, a annually event that happens every year between the month of March and April, where it's the county fair here in Miami-Dade. 2 days ago, which was on a Saturday, I had the chance of going with a few of my coworkers, and um, ironically, I would have did a video, but one of the two things erupted because of the fact of you know it was a lot of factors around it. I was gonna do a 3 minute short video of the outside of it, and was gonna do that, but I couldn't do it. And inside it would have been the music and the noise and everything would have been overwhelming of the situation. But I decided to want to do a aftermath video of it. Actually, then we're gonna jump back to we're gonna get a brief um introductory into it. The Dade County Youth Fair and Exposition started out in 1972, and it became the mainstream of the hottest spring event because it is, spring. March and April is spring, so it is one of the hottest events here in South Florida that's been traveling over for over 50 years, I should say, or 50 plus years, and it has been great. This year, over the years, I'm going to give you my opinion. Over the years, the fair has been on the downfall. Now, most of you may not think of that as it, but it has been over a downfall for the past couple of years. Back in the days in the 80s and the 90s and in the early 2000s, the fair was the hot spot to be at. They had thrill rides, um, great entertainment. One of the main focus of the fair, one of the parts of the fair, well, it's not the main focus, but one of the things that the fair offer is competitions. That's why it says fair and exposition. Exposition is basically, different schools and different artists and different people. They come and they bring their, you know, and they compete in competitions. I remember back when I was in middle school in the mid '90s. I when I was in middle school, I built a wooden rock, a wooden um what you call it, a wooden race car. I was trying to figure out a wooden race car, and I it was in competition at the fair. I sadly decided I didn't win, but I was in competition there. So, and a lot of these I did visited that part. A lot of these schools they in competition, whether it's for artwork, plants, or anything of that nature, and also adults as well. There are some adult competitions. They have you know animal competitions. Where you can enter your animals. They have pig racing. They have a lot of these competitions, not just for the kids but for adults as well. And people go and they compete in the agricultural section, or they compete in the art section, or whatever competitions they have. And that's what the people do. That's what they do every year. That's why it's called the exposition. And also, the main focus of the Dade County Fair is the food and the rides. Now, the rides have been the focal point of the fair as far as I can know since it opened up. But sadly to say, that's not has been the case for the past couple of years. Back in the '90s, there was a ride called the double looping, which we all know here as we call it the double loop, which was a staple roller coaster that was at the fair, and it was one of the best roller coasters they've ever had. Sadly, in the mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s, the double loop was sold off, and it became no more to the Dade County Youth Fair and Exposition. And in its place, that's when the fair started going down here. As you know now, the fair, you know, my opinion is not what it was. I ended up having the audacity of going to the fair with some coworkers this past weekend. Last year, I took my nephew because I wanted my nephew, and then the year before that, I don't remember who I went with. But this year, I ended up going with some of my co-workers from work, and sadly to say, the rides are not the same. Most of the rides, I would say 80% of the rides to 90% are basically family friendly, meaning that even little kids can get on majority of all the rides. There isn't no thrill ride. There isn't no, yeah, you have rides that may take you upside down or may flip you, or there's not actually, there's only one ride that I know that can flip you upside down. And that was at the fair, and it's a new ride that they introduced last year called the X Drive. Every year they're always adding and removing rides from the fair, and to me, I'm sorry for y'all who go to the fair. I'm not saying that the fair is a bad place to go to. It is nice. I love it and everything, but it's the fact that you're not thrilling anymore. Back then, you had thrill rides. You had the G-Force. You had the double looping. You had the space roller. You had a lot of rides there. I did see the zipper, which is a common ride. That is a ride that does flip you, upside down. And the flipper is a traditional historical ride. It's been set back into the 80s or so. But there are a lot of rides. You used to have at least 5 or 6 rides that are thrilling, thrill seeking. Now you have rides that are thrill seeking, but not as thrill enough to where, little kids can't get on the rides. You have rides that are thrill seeking now that kids can get on the rides because it's something, where it's family fun and all that. And I'm like, it used to be back in the day where they had rides where, this, a certain age or a certain height couldn't get on. And, now it's like everybody can get on all of these rides, and stuff like that. And I didn't ride many rides because, we got there late. Because let me tell you something. This year at the fair, it was ridiculous. Let me tell you what ended up happening. I ended up meeting my coworkers out there. Traffic, you had to wait almost close to, well, they told me it was an hour and a half. So I'm going to give you an estimate of almost 2 hours in traffic just to get into the fair. Not the fair itself, but the parking lot. So they say they waited over an hour and a half in parking in line to on the front street to get inside the parking area. And I seen a group of friends that I knew that came there, and one of them was handicapped personnel. So even though they still had to wait in line, they went around and took the shortcut to get in, because and my coworkers was like, it takes over. They waited in almost over an hour and a half. The people that I some friends that I met, they say they waited over an hour, and my coworkers said they waited over an hour and a half. And I say that is ridiculous just to get in the parking lot. Now, granted, they do have a tram service that takes you throughout the parking lot and picks people up throughout the parking lot and drops you off at a designated location near the entrance where you can get off and then you get to the entrance. Now this year they did things differently, and that was another problem. So you overall were waiting almost 3 hours just to get into the fair, because let's say they say the wait line to get inside was an hour and a half just to get inside the entrance to the parking area. Then they had it, back then, they had it where you walk up, you purchase your tickets at the ticket window. Then you have to go through the metal detector area to, make sure you don't have any weapons or anything. They check your bags. You walk through the metal detector, and stuff like that to make sure you doesn't have any weapons or anything like that. And then you go to the scanning area where they scan your tickets, or you give them your tickets, or you show them your digital online ticket, which what I did. I bought my ticket online. But this year they did it differently, where they had the metal detector was security checkpoint outside before you buy your ticket. I kind of get it, because if you have anything and you already have purchased your ticket, then they may say you can't enter and you already purchased your ticket. So now they're doing it where you get scanned by security checkpoint before you purchase your ticket. But that caused a little bit of chaos because when I got there and was waiting on my call, the line was long. The line was like, and I'm sitting up here like I'm thinking, this is the line to actually buy your tickets, but the friends I met, they say no because they had a season pass and they went and they like, no, this is the line for the security checkpoint. I'm like, what? And then the line got so long to where my coworkers and them, they said they had to wait 30 minutes just to get through the checkpoint. And I was like, so you waited an hour and a half in traffic just to get into the parking lot off the main street, and then you had to wait an additional 30 minutes in the checkpoint, the security checkpoint line. And I'm like, this is like the airport. You got to get here early enough to get, and then we didn't actually, I got into the fair because I got in, I went with the friends that I met with. I got through the line with them because, as a disabled person, you could go through the line quicker, because if you're in a wheelchair or in a scooter, you have, you're first in line. And I ended up going with them. My coworkers didn't get in till 9 o'clock to the fair because of the line. They was already there like 7, 8 o'clock. They was there, and it took them an hour and a half to get through traffic, and they didn't get into 9 o'clock. Mind you, the fair closes at midnight. So I'm like, you already missed half of the shows. You missed the circus shows, the other performances and stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. And they still have people coming in at 9 o'clock waiting in the checkpoint line, the security checkpoint line. So I'm like, and I was like, this is ridiculous how this line is crazy. And it was packed as crazy. I was going to say packed as, S, but, this is friendly show. I was like, the line was super crazy. And I was like, and then somebody was walking out talking about they're eventually going to shut the park down. And I was saying, that might what happen. Because remember, I did an episode of Christmas Wonderland, and I told you the first night of Christmas Wonderland, they had to close the park. The lines on Bird Road was extremely long. The lines down was extremely long. And I told you that on the bus, somebody said that they had to get off a couple of blocks away from their bus stop because the lines was too long down the street, on the main street, to where people, it was packed. It was crazy. And me and my mom ended up going the second day that it opened, and it wasn't as bad. And I was like, that's basically what the fair was. And I'm like, wow, you had to wait almost an hour and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I told my friends, I say, this is the first time I've ever seen the fair this packed. And I mean, it was packed. And that's why I bought my tickets online, because I encourage, I say, look, please buy your tickets online. I encourage everybody, please buy your tickets online, because you don't want to have to sit there and wait, wait even though you still have to do the checkpoint. And when I got there, I went and got my, unlimited pass wristband, which, I have right here. This is the one thing that they're doing new this year, and I've seen this at a lot of the carnivals that I've been to, where they have the automatic ticket machines. They used to have it where they have like a little ticket booth. You go and say, oh, I want to buy 30 tickets. I want to buy 60 tickets. I want to buy this amount of tickets. No, they have the self-ordering kiosk where you can either buy your tickets or buy, stuff like that. And I've seen that at some of the carnivals that I've seen in the past. If you look at, some of my short videos that I visited different carnivals, when I go there, they actually have self-ordering tickets where they don't have a ticket agent. They have where you can self-order. And that's what the fair was doing this year. And I was like, that's pretty much. But when you go buy your unlimited band, they have an actual person that give you the unlimited thing. Now, the thing that I don't like that they did this year, I went and I said I wanted to buy an express pass. When I went to go, the lady said, we're all out. She said they give us a minimum, they only give us 3,000 express passes. So I looked at it and I'm like, this is 9 o'clock at night. So, or going on 9 o'clock at night. This is at night. So I said, okay, if the fair, let's say the fair opens up because it's a weekend, so the fair will probably open up maybe 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So let's say the fair opens up at 10 o'clock. By 12 o'clock, 3,000 express passes will be gone. So the rest of the people who gets into the fair, they don't have an express pass. And if for those who don't know what express passes is, those are the express passes where they have a separate line. You pay probably $25 to $30 more. Like you buy the unlimited pass, and then you pay for the limited pass was $35. Then you have to pay an additional $25 to $30 for an express pass, which gives you um front of the line priority, meaning that the regular line is here on the right, but then they have an express line here on the left. And if it's five people in line, and the ride consists of the first three, meaning when the ride ends, they give you a limit of the first three or the first, depending on how many seats on that. If it's 30 seats, they'll say, okay, the first six in the express lane for the express passes can get on. Or if it's only 5 seats or how many seats it is, they cut it by half. If it's 20 seats, they'll say, okay, the first five in the express lane gets in. Something like that. You have first priority of seats on the ride. That's what the express pass is. And the lady said they only give you 3,000. They gave us 3,000. So I said, so if the park opens up at 10 o'clock in the morning on the set, because I know it opens up probably like 1 or 2 on a weekday, but if the park opens up at 10 o'clock in the morning, by 12 o'clock, those 3,000 express passes will be gone, because you got to realize it's a Saturday. The park is busy from sun up to sundown. By the time it hits 12 or 1 o'clock, all the 3,000 express passes are gone. So you realizing the remainder of the people have to stand in the regular line to get an express pass. Now, I granted a lot of people don't buy express passes for several reasons. Like, say for instance, you are taking 5 kids and you have to buy 5 unlimited passes for kids. You're not going to buy 5 additional express passes for all 5 kids, because you're paying almost $200 to $300. Because let's say for instance, I'm going to do the math. $35 times 5 is $175. And if you're paying $25 for a express pass times 5, that's $125. So 175 plus 125. That's $300 for 5 kids just to do the rides and express passes. So you're not going to pay $300 for an additional express passes. So you're going to say, okay, y'all going to get the unlimited passes and that's it. But like myself, like last year, I bought me and my nephew an express pass, which is not bad, that's only $50, So I was like, okay, whatever. This is me and my nephew. But if I had more people with me and stuff like that, I wasn't buying a whole bunch of express passes. That's a lot of money. And then you got to buy food and stuff like that. So I understand that. But there are people that are willing to do it. And I seen some people that was in the express passes, but a lot of the express pass lanes wasn't as big because, of course, you got to realize those 3,000 express passers that came were already was probably gone by 8, 9 o'clock when I got there. So it was like, that's ridiculous. So I couldn't get an express pass. So when I was riding, I only rode like 2 or 3 rides, because a lot of the lines was long. I felt like I was at Universal Studios, because I remember I did an episode where I said I went in Universal Studios back in 2020, and when we had park passes, and we ended up going from regular Universal to Island of Adventure, and then a lot of the lines at Island of Adventures was long enough where me and my friends say, forget it, we're not even gonna. We only rode like maybe 2 rides in Islands of Adventure, because it's like the lines. That's when they introduced the new Harry Potter ride in the Islands of Adventure, and it was like the line was so long to where it was like 2-hour ride, and I'm like, I felt like I was at Universal Studios and Disney World. Like the lines were super long, and I couldn't ride some of them. I only rode like 2 or 3 rides, and my company was like, "Oh, this line is short. This line is short." Okay, and I'm like, I couldn't even get on most of the rides because the lines were super long, and without an express pass, it made it worse. Because if they would have still had express passes, I'm quite sure half the lines would have been different. Or the express line would have been, halfway, and the regular line would have been balanced out. But you only offering 3,000 express passes a day. During the weekday, that might have worked. But I feel like, because number one, they don't have online ordering for express passes, which I think that they should have had it where you can order the express pass online too and then pick it up when you get to the gate. But you only can buy the express pass inside of the inside the fair, and they only give you 3,000 a day. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And to me, overall, I give the fair a 7 out of 10 because yes, they have nice rides and they have, you know, a kiddie lane. They have two kiddie lanes. They have one in the front, one in the back, and you know the exhibits and everything. It's nice. But number one, you don't have thrill rides that is really thrill seeking. You know, you have thrill rides, but they're not the rides that's really thrilling to where it knocks you off your socks. You don't offer, you know, express passes to everybody. You only have a limited amount of express passes. So only you know, you got to get there at a certain time to get an express pass. You know, you can't get there at 7, 8 o'clock at night thinking, oh, I'm gonna get an express pass, because by that time ain't no more express passes. You know, the wait time to get in we was crazy. The wait time to park your car, because it was over an hour to park your car, that was ridiculous. You know, the wait time to get in the fair to actually purchase your tickets was ridiculous, because you had the security checkpoint outside, and that line was so long. People had to wait almost 30 minutes, and a lot of people was walking by was like, this line is long. And I'm sitting up here like, this line is long as crazy, and it was just too much. And I was like, are you serious? This is what we're doing? And I'm like, they have to come up with a better system. I'm quite sure on social media, a lot of people, because I had one of my former coworkers who worked with me. I seen they post online as well, and it was like, this is the line to get in. And I'm sure a lot of people took to social media about the fair and said that this was crazy, how the parking lot was mad stupid, you know, because the hour wait to get into the parking lot through traffic. Because I kept texting my coworkers, I was like, where y'all at? We're stuck in traffic. I'm like, traffic? And when I found out that the traffic was over an hour just to get to the fair, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Now I know the weekends, it's a mad crazy over the weekends, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And then it got to the point where I was like, are y'all serious? Y'all have a checkpoint line? Just to get in, I felt like I was at the airport trying to get into Universal Studios. Because, you know, at airports, they tell you got to get there 2 to 3 hours before your flight leaves, because you got to go through all these checkpoints and all these, you know, security points and all that, you know. And I'm like, it's the same way at the fair. You know, traffic at the airport always be mad crazy, because, you know, parking and all of that. And then if you're getting dropped off, whether you're taking a bus or, you know, a taxi or a rideshare program, you know, it's always traffic at the airport. And then, you know, the check-in lines or the checkpoint, the security checkpoint, you know, TSA, I've never got on a plane, but I know I've seen comments, I've seen videos, I've had people who have flown on a plane, have flied on a plane, or whatever you want to call it. And I've heard the stories, and like, yeah, you got to get there like 2-3 hours before your flight leaves, and because, you know, you got to go through all these checkpoints, and you got to go to your terminal, and you got to do this and do that. And I'm like, this feels like I'm at an airport. You know, you got the wait time, the line to get in the parking area, you know, traffic just to park your car is over an hour. And then you got the security checkpoint line, which is damn near 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So you're spending almost an hour to two trying just to get to the fair. And then you buy your tickets and you go in, you want to buy an unlimited pass. And then you get the unlimited pass, you can't get an express pass. So now you have to wait almost 10 to 15 minutes in each ride. So I'm sitting there like I'm at Universal Studios. Because, you know, most of the rides at Universal Studios is almost 2 hour wait. Depending on the ride, you get a 90 minute to 120 minute wait time. And I'm like, am I at Universal Studios or what? And I know that this is one of the premier spots in South Florida to where you don't have a amusement you don't have a set amusement park here in Miami. Yeah, you have amusement centers like Arcade Odyssey, Dave and Buster's, Dieselland. You have places like that, but you don't actually have an amusement park like Orlando. They have amusement park for every day of the year. You could go to Disney World, Universal Studios, Fun Spot, Icon Park, Gatorland. You have Ripley's Believe It or Not. You Wonderworks. You have all of these places you can go to in Orlando. Here, you only have game rooms and arcades that you can go to every day. You don't have a thrill spot. We did have one called of course, Uncle Bernie's. But if you look at my video from last year, I did a video where they removed Uncle Bernie's because unfortunately there was word and rumors that they will be selling off the swap shop. But go look back at it. But there are videos of Uncle Bernie's amusement park online. You can check them out. Not from me, but there are videos from there. But I look at this, I say, this is ridiculous. This was crazy. If you've been to the fair this year, I want to know what your take or intake of it, how you rate it. Do you think it was fair? Do you think it was good? Do you think it was bad, poor? I told you it wasn't a good feeling. The line to get in the security checkpoint was just massive. It got to the point where the line trampled all the way into the parking lot. Now, when I got there, the line was long, but it wasn't as long as when it was at 8 o'clock at night when the line surpassed the sidewalk and it ended up going all the way and it ended up trampling over into the parking lot. And it was like the cars had to, maneuver around the people waiting in the checkpoint line, the security checkpoint line. I'm like, the line even tumbled all the way into the parking lot. And I'm like, that's what's ridiculous. And then the fact when they say they had to wait over an hour and a half just to get in the park, I was like, this is my first and last time I'm going this year. And my friends that I mentioned earlier that they said they had a season pass and they wasn't even getting on rides. And I'm like, why would you have a season pass to go to this crap? Like, the rides wasn't appealing. I give the rides a 5-star out of 10. The rides wasn't appealing. They only doing shows on certain times, even though I missed the shows. And I'm like, yo, like, this is ridiculous. And you're paying on you come here and they say they've been like 10 times. I'm like, dude, first of all, I'm not going to be coming to this every time, and I have to wait every hour. Every time I come, I have to wait over an hour to get in. Yeah, my people were saying, yeah, it would have been better off to come on a weekday because it probably been less traffic and less people. I say, yeah, that would have been nice, but it was a Saturday and it was mad crazy. I want to know what y'all people think about it. If you've been to the fair this year, what was your intake on it? If you think it was fair, do you think it was good? Do you think it's bad? Like I told you, I give it a 7 out of 10 for the overall experience. The rides, I give it a 5. Overall, including the rides and everything, I give it a 5. But as far as the inside, I give it a 7 because they have different varieties of food that is good. They have different varieties of stuff. But overall, I give it a 5 because this was ridiculous. Overall, the parking was crazy. The line to get in was crazy. The ride lines was crazy because you wasn't offering express passes. All of this was crazy. Mad crazy. And I'm telling you, mad crazy. And I'm saying mad crazy because it was mad crazy. But yeah, overall, it was just a mess. If you've been to the fair this year or if you've been within the past years, let me know your intake. I liked it better years ago than versus now. Let me know your comments. Please comment at the bottom of this page. Don't forget to also, you can email me at roundtable00@yahoo.com. If you haven't been to the fair yet, go out to the fair, check it out. I advise you to go early. There's 3 things I advise you. I advise you to go buy your tickets online so you can avoid the line to get the tickets. The line to get the tickets wasn't as long as the line to get in for the security checkpoint, but they are long as well too. Buy your tickets online, save time. Get there early enough so you can get an express pass because from what they told me, they only giving 3,000 a day. So get there enough to get an express pass depending on how many people you have in your party. and also try to get there in time enough to see all the shows and exhibits and stuff like that. Don't go at 8, 9 o'clock at night because that's where most people would like to go, because the line to get in will be super long and you'll be waiting. If you get there at 9 o'clock and you don't get into the parking lot to 10 o'clock, you screwed because you only got 2 hours of fun. And then basically, you're screwed. The line to get in traffic is long. The line to get inside the fair is long. The wait times for the rides is long. So I give it an overall 5. Everything, the inside I give it a 7, but for overall I give it a 5 because it wasn't clearly good this year. They need to do something about everything. But this is the Roundtable Talk. Email me roundtable00@yahoo.com. Comment at the bottom of this page. I do have some ribbon fries that I've gotten from the fair that I didn't finish off. I'm going to tap into them right now because I did eat them, but I didn't finish them off. So I'm going to go finish them off right now. This is the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money. Thank you for watching. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.